You are no longer employed by Park Ridge, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So what's the reason you're showing our officer the badge?
An ex-cop pulled over, and officers say he tried to act like he was still a cop, badge and all. I have the story out of Illinois, and we look at whether it could be a misunderstanding or whether Scott Pearson is in trouble. I'm Angenette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Before I get into this case, I want to tell you about our new podcast that just dropped on Wondery Plus. It's Karen, the Retrial, and let me tell you, it is the absolute best place for a recap of the Karen Reed case, everything going on in her retrial that's literally happening right now, and what's to come as the retrial heats up. You can find Karen, the Retrial exclusively on the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Click the link in our description below to listen. Now back to this case involving Scott Pearson out of Illinois. He was driving his SUV down the road when he was pulled over in Cook County. Seems like no big deal, right? But it turned into a big deal. Pearson used to work as a police officer, but he doesn't anymore.
How you doing? Officer Martinez, Kutosh. Cheers, police. Driver license, insurance? I stopped you for the expired tags.
Yeah, I renewed them, and then I got they spelled the plate wrong. It's not stolen because the Ringo's not one stolen plate. And then I went to renew it again, and they said that I had to go get the emissions tested again. So.
Okay. You're from Martinson?
Park Ridge.
Park Ridge?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Give me a second, okay?
Yeah.
This was back on February 1st. The officer walks back to his cruiser and he runs Pearson's license. It takes a few minutes, it always does. He sits in his cruiser gathering some information, and then he walks back to Pearson's SUV, and that's when things get interesting.
You have an ID? Homework?
Yeah, I don't have one on me, no. No, I work with Park Ridge, I worked for Park Ridge.
Okay.
I'm not with them anymore.
Okay. So, is there a reason why you're carrying that then?
It's just the wallet I've always had. I don't use it.
Okay, am I see it again?
Yeah.
Can I have it?
Yeah, go on. You can take the badge if you want.
Okay. Give me a second, okay?
Yeah.
Stay in the vehicle for me, Scott.
Go for it.
So Scott Pearson is driving around with a badge in his wallet, a legitimate police badge, but he's no longer a police officer. The officer goes back to his cruiser and actually calls the Park Ridge Police Department. The officer confirms that Scott Pearson does not work there and hasn't for a while. I looked up Pearson on an Illinois database, and it shows he was hired by the Park Ridge Police Department in 2018. His date of separation was listed as February 29th, 2024, and his status is listed as inactive. So Scott Pearson hadn't been an active law enforcement officer in Illinois for nearly a year when this traffic stop took place. Watch what happened next as the Arlington officer called a Cook County officer to assist him.
What's his name?
Scott.
Yes. What's going on, brother?
Scott,
how you doing? Do me a favor. Step out the car real quick.
Yes.
Do you have anything on you?
No, sir.
No weapons, nothing we need to know of?
No.
Okay. Do me a favor. Step out. Just face right here.
Face the one for me, here.
Put your hands up real quick on the car.
Hey, 390.
So you got nothing on you? No weapons, no nothing? Alright. Do me a favor. Put your hands behind your back. Yep.
Hey, 390.
So you're just being detained at the moment, so we can ask you some questions, investigate everything. You are no longer employed by Park Ridge, correct? Okay. So what's the reason you're showing our officer the badge?
I didn't show. I opened my wallet, and it's have the little.
I know, but
there.
when when you have been terminated from a police department or anything, you're not allowed to carry any police identity, no badge, no nothing, anything at all, because that's pretty much you're impersonating a police officer, which you are no longer a police officer.
Yeah, I didn't state I was a cop. I didn't.
But you still have a badge on you, right? And you showed him the badge, and you said you used to work for Park Ridge or Burr Ridge, wherever it was, right?
I asked you, if you remember, I asked you, is that Arlington? And you said, no, that's Park Ridge.
I said, no, I worked for Park Ridge.
Yeah.
Okay, do you work for any other department at the moment or anything? No.
I said I worked.
So right there, Pearson is saying he used the past tense, worked. Let's go back and look at what he said to the first officer when he was first approached.
You have an ID? Homework?
Yeah, I don't have one on me, no. No, I worked with Park Ridge, I worked for Park Ridge.
Okay.
I'm not with them anymore.
Okay. So, is there a reason why you're carrying that then?
It's just the wallet I've always had. I don't use it.
If you are serious about boosting your energy and improving your overall health, the food you choose is key. But let's get real. Shopping for healthy, sustainable food can be really overwhelming. That's where Thrive Market comes in. Thrive Market is my go-to for healthy, sustainable groceries. And the best part, it's delivered right to my front door. With Thrive Market, I get access to thousands of high-quality brands with products guaranteed at the lowest price. Everything from pantry staples to eco-friendly cleaning supplies. Plus, their commitment to sustainability means I'm not only taking care of myself, but the planet too. And with their easy-to-use website and app, I can filter by dietary preferences, whether you're keto, gluten-free, vegan, or just trying to make healthier swaps. Thrive Market has something for everyone. I found some amazing high-protein snacks like Catalina Crunch Cinnamon Toast Cereal. It's perfect for my midday cravings. Every product is carefully vetted by Thrive Market's expert team for its quality and ethical sourcing, so I feel good about what I'm putting on my table and into my body. So if you're ready to make healthy food shopping as easy as a few clicks, check out Thrive Market. Scan the QR code on your screen, click the link in the description, or head to thrivemarket.com/crimefix to get 30% off your first order and a free gift when you join Thrive Market today. Trust me, you won't regret it. So at first it sounded like he said, I work at Park Ridge, but then it sounded like he said, I worked at Park Ridge. Now back to the video where Pearson is being detained and he's asked about something on his vehicle.
Does this car have lights? Because we see the lights on there.
They don't work, no, but I do.
Where's the switch at that you would activate them if you did have them?
It was underneath the front, but they don't work. Underneath the floorboard, it's my wiring.
These right here?
It doesn't work. It doesn't work, like I said. I had, they were there when I
7232
worked there. And, that's the wall that we buy.
7232. Okay,
said you installed that yourself?
Uh-huh.
They're just, I never used them.
Yeah, but you put those, you install those lights, so they're actually police lights that flash, like police lights?
Please, I never use them.
So how did they get on there?
I put them on myself, but it was just...
Okay, so see what listen to what I'm telling you now. You have police lights on a vehicle that you're saying apparently don't work, but you have lights on here, you're carrying around a badge, and you're not a sworn police officer. So that's all of impersonating a police officer.
When I was working there, I had them.
Okay, so you understand when you get terminated from a job, that should automatically come off. That should not be on your vehicle at all, because now you have these on your vehicle and you also have a badge.
As each moment passes, things appear to get worse for Scott Pearson, and the deputy explains why they're so concerned about the badge and now the police lights.
I had them.
Okay, so you understand when you get terminated from a job, that should automatically come off. That should not be on your vehicle at all, because now you have these on your vehicle and you also have a badge. So how do we know you're not pulling somebody over? You could say, yeah, they don't work right now, but there's something you could probably go under the hood, connect them, and you could start pulling people over and acting like you're still the police and you're not. So that's all evidence of impersonating a police officer. Which at the time you should have just turned your stuff into Park Ridge or whoever it was.
Everything in that I had, the wall.
Except the badge, you should have turned the badge in as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Could you answer that to my baby mama? I'm supposed to get my kids.
Okay. Give me a second.
I'm supposed to pick them up in a half hour.
Okay.
We're going to go...
This one, or yeah, because we're going to be right here anyways, because we don't want to be too far. And then we'll go from there after we'll see what Sarge says right now. You don't got nothing in the back, right? All right, go ahead. Have a seat.
Watch your head.
Yeah. Got it? All right. You got it? Yeah. Just turn your foot. You got to turn your foot somehow. Yep. There you go. Just turn your body. There you go. Let me get this seat up.
And you can call all my bosses. I was never that person, that guy that was actually in the retirement party for one of the guys tonight.
I understand, but you see where we're coming from, right? If I'm a police officer right now and I get terminated and I carry a badge on me and I open up my wallet and I have a badge there and I have a vehicle with actually police lights still on it, that's red flags. At my point, I would say, you know what? I'm terminated. I'm going to need to get rid of this badge, turn this back into them, and I'm going to take these lights off this vehicle. Okay, well, we'll talk her down.
What was the reason behind the restriction again?
The officer gets ready to search Pearson's SUV, and things get a little bit worse for Pearson.
All right, at this time, I'm going to go through your whole vehicle. Do you have anything in there that I should know of? Any weapons, anything, anywhere, anything's going to poke me, stick me anywhere in that car? No. You sure? See if we're gonna obviously have to tow it. See if Sarge wants to do an admin tow, or if he wants to do a regular tow, because it is gonna be. Every time I'll go through the car. There are police lights. Hey, they do work. They're working. They're flashing. So, vehicle does have, as you can see, police lights in the front. That was installed by the suspect.
Remember, Pearson told the officers the lights didn't work, but clearly they do. He's not just being detained now, he's being arrested, and at some point, the officer answers Pearson's phone.
This is Officer Perea with the Cook County Sheriff's Police Department. I don't know who the guy is that you're calling. I think, okay, he is being detained at the moment. He is being arrested for impersonating a police officer. So he's going to be in custody. We'll be going down to the station at Maywood. He will have probably a court hearing tomorrow to see what his bond's going to be, if they're going to bond him or give him a bond. And his vehicle will be seized. It's going to be towed because there are police lights on the vehicle that are actively working as well. So right now this is an investigation, so he is being detained, okay? Once he gets his phone call from the station, he'll probably give you a call. Okay, bye.
The officers go back to Scott Pearson and they let him know they caught him in a fib.
All right, go ahead and step up. I'm going to readjust the closet and I'm going to sit you out to the other side so you can get a little more room.
And then that's another red flag right there. You told me them lights don't work. They do work.
Use them since I was
Okay, well, you can say all you want to say, but they're plugged in and they're actively working. So I have them on now.
I'm going to readjust, just face right here.
Readjust them for what?
Just want to make sure I can fit a finger.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you Put a whole finger in there.
Give me a sec.
Here, pull your hands a little closer.
I'm trying. That's the best today.
That's a little too loose right there.
Yeah, I know.
Way too. You want to just flip them the other way?
Then another officer comes to the scene and he tells the story.
Someone see his lights on or something?
No, so the officer, my partner, pulled him over for the expired tag from 23. Pulled him over for expired tag, and come to find out when he comes up to him, talks to him, the guy opens up his wallet and has his badge right there. He's like, "Oh, you're a police officer?" He's like, "Yeah." And all of a sudden he's like, "Wait, from where?" He's like, "Park Ridge." He's like, "Well, I used to work there." And then he started trying to change his story around, and then we seen the lights on there too, and we found that activated the lights. We're like, so yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we verified with Park Ridge. They're like, "Yeah, no, we let him go a couple months ago already."
Scott Pearson was taken to the police station where an officer walked him inside to go through the booking process. He was cited and released, but not before they took a booking photo. He was indicted in March on one count of impersonation of a police officer, and he's due in court on May 14th. So now I'd like to bring in Marie Pereira. She is a former prosecutor and a defense attorney. Marie, I really want your first reaction about this case because it's all on video. And we have this Scott Pearson getting pulled over. And, the cops basically say, "Hey, you're showing me your license, but you got a badge there and you're no longer a cop." And then they start questioning him and going from there. What do you think about this? What's your gut telling you about this based on, what we know based on the police report and the video?
My gut is telling me once a cop, always a cop. And he probably felt, even though he was retired or terminated from the police department, somehow he could use his badge to influence other police officers and trigger that blue wall where we protect each other. So when they pulled him over, he was like, "Okay, those are my homeboys. Let me pull out the trustee badge." It's almost like the little PBA card that people who donate get. You pull it out and you're thinking it's going to get you some type of preferential treatment, and it blew up in his face because whoever stopped him, they didn't consider them to be homeboys of each other, and they treated him like a regular person, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think about it. When you pull out your license, there are probably a couple of ways you can do that. You don't necessarily have to pull it out in the wallet. You can pull it out and, hand it over. But this kind of almost makes it sound like he was flashing the badge, like
Of course.
he was opening the wallet and, the wallet has the badge right there, with the license. And so that kind of raised their suspicion a little bit because he kind of it sounded like he was acting like he might still be a cop at first, but then he cleaned it up and he said, "Well, I don't work there anymore." So, I mean, it seems like if he was indeed flashing the badge to get out of whatever, I mean, that's just was like a really bad move.
Really bad move for him because the people who stopped him, they were not a part of that blue wall. Clearly, he probably thought, you know what, even if I don't work there anymore, if I gently open my wallet, they see the badge, they're going to say, "Oh, he's one of us," regardless. And it just didn't happen for him because nowadays, I guess they have police officers in that particular state with integrity, and they don't give each other passes when the law is being broken.
Yeah, and they called and checked it out too, which I found to be very interesting, because they didn't like that he was carrying the badge despite not working there anymore. They said that you're supposed to turn that over. You're not supposed to still have that. You're not supposed to be carrying that thing around if you're not working there anymore. So that really raised their concern. And then the concern gets kicked up a notch when they see that he's got lights on his personal vehicle.
Not the lights.
I mean, the lights, that's a whole nother level of concern because why do you need lights on your personal vehicle?
Exactly. And I love the fact that they called to verify who he was. Did he work there? They just didn't accuse him unjustly. They had an idea and then they followed up with proper investigation. And they were told he used to work for us, but he no longer does. And then they went on to do more investigation. And like you said, why would you have police lights unless you're maybe pulling over people? In this world, of crime, and we've covered a lot of weird cases where people actually are pulling over citizens pretending to be police officers and then perpetuating crimes on them. So that light, and the fact that he said at first it didn't work and then they saw it did work, really showed some sort of nefarious reason for having the lights and the badge, which were no longer valid.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that next. The fact that they asked him about the lights, he said, I got them from the PD and I put them on myself, but they don't work. And then they went and flipped the switch, and of course, they work. The lights turn on red and blue. Um, I mean, this is all very concerning, and it makes you wonder: are they going back to look to see if potentially he was doing something he shouldn't have been doing with the badge and the lights after leaving the police department?
Absolutely. And the fact that he tried to lie about it is what we call consciousness of guilt. Why are you lying about the lights working if you didn't do anything wrong? People lie to cover up, and police officers know this. So the fact that he didn't tell the truth about that makes it worse for him, because a crime like this, they have to prove that he willfully wore maybe a badge or exhibited a badge and or an emblem with an intent to make somebody else believe that he was a peace officer. That's all they have to do. Based on what I saw, they've proven their case because he had it. He's lying about the lights, and it just shows guilt on his part.
All right, now let's look at the other side of the coin. If you're Scott Pearson and you're driving around and he's, at one point the phone rings and he's supposed to meet up with his girlfriend and, pick up the child and all of this stuff. Maybe he's a busy guy, he hasn't had time to take care of all this, get the lights off the car, all this stuff. Um, I mean, how do you defend him? If Scott Pearson comes to you and says, I'm in a jam, this is what happened, help me out. How do you defend him?
I would argue that this is a specific intent crime, and you have to show that not only he possessed it, but he intended to defraud someone else into believing he was a police officer. So unless he uttered the words, "I am a police officer," I would argue they haven't quite proven all the elements of the crime, because you have to show intent and willfulness. Them seeing the badge alone is not enough, because he never tried to say that he was a police officer. They just saw it and then they ran with it. That's what I would argue. But again, the law doesn't require that you tell someone. You simply have to have the emblem or device, and that's it. Just having it is enough.
Yeah, and just act, maybe not even walking around with a uniform. Maybe you don't have to have a uniform on, but just having the lights on the car and the badge. I mean, is that enough?
I think it's a weak case. And if I was his defense attorney, I would argue the intent was not there, because he didn't take any steps in furtherance of perpetuating this alleged fraud. He simply had a badge in his wallet, which he never said with his mouth, "I'm a cop," and you saw lights. The only thing he did was lie about the lights working. So I would argue based on intentionality to perpetuate a fraud. And I would say that part was missing from the element of the crime. That's what I would argue. But the crime, when you really read the statute, it doesn't say that you have to utter any words or take any steps in furtherance. But as a defense attorney, you have to be tenacious and just put it out there and argue for your client.
Well, those police officers, as you mentioned, they were not. I mean, they were not playing that day.
No,
They
they
were
were
not
not here
playing.
for it.
They were not, and they were pretty. adamant about taking him into custody and charging him. I mean, it was interesting to see how quickly they reacted. I was actually kind of surprised by that. Were you?
I was. I was, because I figured once he showed it to them, whether or not he's a retired cop, former cop, once a cop, always a cop. And they stick together, almost like a veteran. When you serve the country, you get special treatment. You get to go ahead in line. And even now on airplanes, all, war veterans, please come on first. So I would think that his own people, his own former homeboys would give him a pass. But I was proud of what they did, because at the end of the day, that is corruption. He doesn't work there anymore. He shouldn't get any special treatment. And who knows what he was doing with that badge and the lights. I'm glad they did that, but I was surprised.
It raises a lot of questions. It really does. Well, Marie Pereira, I appreciate your time. It's so good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And as I mentioned earlier, Scott Pearson will be back in court in May. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.